It's not they're calling me as me, maybe in as part of me without thinking.
e poi quando si passa dove si è focalizzata nell'altro sono più distanti, questo tipo di cable può essere molto complesso. Credo che sia chiaro sì, sì. Sì, no,
Tu veux IoT Fede?
Riprendiamo. So, we concluded the directional coupler. I think at this point should be clear how it works. Couplet theory, couplet mode theory, the transfer function, the transfer matrix, transmission matrix, synchronous, asynchronous coupler, advantage, disadvantage, sensitivity to the parameters, to the tolerance, and dependence on the wavelength. So, everything about the coupler. So now you are expert on coupler. That is really the building block. It's one of the most important building blocks in integrated optics. The next topic is wide range or bifurcation. So the directional coupler was is a device with two input, two output, and the coupling here occurs because of the evanescent coupling, the evanescent field between the two waveguides. A wide range is similar but has one input and two output. So, seen from the top, this is a waveguide, and the waveguide at some point become a little bit larger and split into other single mode waveguide. So we have one input and two output. Is another way to split the input power in two. If you choose carefully the product CL in the directional coupler equal to pi divided by 4, if you enter from here, you divide the power in 2. But you have to control this one quite carefully. If you want to do this job, you can use this device. You have one input, so you don't need the second input here. You have the two output. If this one is symmetric, you enter from here and you get out from these two, splitting the power in two. So in some sense, it's better, it's easier to realize. We have seen that there is a pi shift in the output of the directional coupler, while in the wide range, because of the symmetry, the two outputs are absolutely in phase. So the phase of the two outputs is identical. Advantage and disadvantage, and then we move to the explanation of how it works. The main advantage is that a symmetric object, so the symmetry comes from the lithography. So basically, when you realize this device is asymmetric, it is difficult to make an error in the symmetry of this device. And if you look carefully here, we have a waveguide that split in two. So this is not a very nice point for the technology because it is a very narrow angle. So when you realize this, typically is filled in a random way because you're not able to do really this zero gap that at some point you are. And this means some reflection and some losses. So, especially in high-index contrast waveguide, like silicon photonics and sometimes indium phosphate, this gives a loss. However, the symmetry is maintained and you split in two. So if the balance of the splitting is important, is of major importance, you accept some losses, but you have really the splitting into. So it's a device that is preferred to directional coupler in case you want a very accurate splitting of the power in two parts, identical parts. And obviously, in case you have only one input, because if you need the two input, well, there are no two inputs, so. The transfer matrix of transmission matrix of this device. For the directional coupler is a 2x2 matrix because we have two inputs to output, so it's 2x2. And in this case, is not 1x2 because if you enter from here, you need the 2 row. So it's a 4x4, also in this case. So it's a 4x4, and which are the 4 ports? Let's see how it works. You go to the upper pass, I know. This is the wave range. Let's enter from this side because it's easier, it's more intuitive. Assume that you arrive with the fundamental mode of this waveguide and with the fundamental mode of this waveguide. What is this? This can be seen as a directional coupler with a very large gap. So here the waveguides are not coupled, but you see that the two modes can be seen as the symmetric mode of the directional coupler. So as this continues, you always have this mode that arrive here, and you get something like this, and then you get something like this, and you get something like this. So you have a taper, the size of the waveguide shrink, becomes smaller. The two modes walking along the structure get closer and closer and closer, and they overlap, and they finish in the fundamental mode of the waveguide. Now I try to do another drawing here with the same Now, assume that you enter with the fundamental mode here, and with the fundamental mode, but with the opposite phase, with the opposite sign. And do the same. Let the mode propagate. So they propagate, this one is here, this one is here. When I arrive here, you get something like this, and you get something like this when you arrive. What is this? Second mode. So if you arrive from the output with the two modes that are opposite in phase, you excite the first order mode of the waveguide. Then, if the waveguide is multi-mode, this mode is guided and propagated in the waveguide. If the waveguide is a single mode, this mode is below the cutoff, is no more guided, and radiate away. So after a while, you don't have nothing. So now I go back to the previous question. The matrix is a 2 by 2 because we have 2 input and 2 output. Which are the 2 input? Which are the 2 output? Question. We have 2 physical output, so these 2 modes, and 2 modes on this side that share the same physical structure, the same physical core. So the transmission matrix is a 2 by 2 because relate the let me leave the same so let's call A1 the amplitude of this mode, A2 the amplitude of the second mode, B1 and B2 the amplitude of the other mode. So this device can be described as, sorry, it's not C but it's Y now, it's no more a coupler. So we have a 4 by 4 matrix that relate the complex amplitude of these 2 modes with the complex amplitude of these 2 modes. These 2 modes share the same physical waveguide, but this is the tail, it's not a problem. The port as related to the mode. So if you know the amplitude of the mode on one side, you know immediately the amplitude of the mode on the other side. And this is what you want. Then, if the second mode, now you go back, you move from the circuit description to the electromagnetic description. Then if you know that this second mode is below the cutoff, this second mode is radiated away. But this is because of the waveguide that continue, not because of the wide range. The wide range combined and excited this shape that has a very important meaning, is the second mode. And then it's up to you to put a waveguide that is a single mode or bimodal or whatever. The structure is symmetric, so the transfer matrix is 1, 1, 1, minus 1, and there is 1 over square root of 2 because it does not amplify. So this is the transfer matrix of the wide range. Very simple. Eventually, you can induce, you can include here an insertion loss. So instead of 1, is something less, because maybe it's lossy. So it's 0.9, 0.8, 0.99, I don't know. But this is the attenuation. The behavior is this one. And the inverse of this matrix, so if you want this amplitude as a function of this, you get this. And if you want to reverse it, it's just Ty minus 1, that is just Ty. So it's the same if you go in one direction or in the other direction. Clear? So this is very used, is extremely important in especially low index contrast technologies. In silicon and indium phosphate is a little bit more problematic because of the dimension of the object. It is very small. You can have losses, you can have radiation, but is important and right. So we have seen the directional coupler, and the directional coupler is not the only one.
Sorry, just to have clear this thing. It's like we enter with one mode, and the output is a mode of an optical coupler, but that are very, to imagine how the modes are after the bifurcation. It's like there were an optical coupler that is very wide, very.
Yes, so to separate waveguides.
Okay, and the things I have not clear is that we enter with only one mode, A1 for example, in the bifurcation.
Yes.
Okay, but in the matrix we have A1, A2. So A2 is 0 if you have only one mode propagating.
Yes.
Okay, but if it's 0, for example, do we have B1 and B2 at the exit with 0? Because just mathematical point of view.
Just do the matrix calculation and calculate. Let me show this slide and then we can continue because maybe I explain you this problem. So we have seen the directional coupler is not the only one to combine or split the light. Another one is the Y branch. So this that we have started now. And there are others that we will see in a while. This is a simulation of the Y branch when you arrive with the fundamental mode from this side. So basically you arrive with A1 equal to 1 and A2 equal to 0. And you see that the light arrive here split into in an equal way, and you have the same power again. Here you see the taper, so the single mode waveguide become wider, and at some point split in two different waveguide with the same monomode regime as the input. So in this case, we really have 1 and 0. So this is 1, 1, 1 minus 1. So we have B1 that is, well, 1 over square root of 2. That is 1. Okay, and B2 that is questo per questo e questo per questo is once again 1. So you excite both the symmetric mode and the antisymmetric mode. So this plus this is no, sorry, let's say we are in this condition. So this row by this column is 1, so the output here is 1, and this row by this column is 1, so this output is 1. Positive, not negative, so the same phase. Okay? So now look at this condition. So this is once again this matrix, because the inverse of this matrix is again this matrix. Okay? And we are entering from here. So 1 and 0 again, 1 and 0. So 1 and 0 means that the output, what is the output in this case, is the amplitude of the fundamental mode and the amplitude of the second order mode. So first row by this is 1. So the fundamental one is 1 here, well, 1 over square root of 2, so 1/2. And second row by this one is again 1. So it means that you are exciting the second order mode with the same amplitude. And in effect, if you see here, you see this beating, white and black, black and white, white and black. This is the beating between the mode. So here you have the second mode. But the waveguide is a single mode. So you see this, this shadow here. This is the radiative field that abandon the waveguide, go away, and after a while you have only the fundamental mode. So you lost half of the power in this part. And this is described by this matrix. 1 over square root of 2, because only B1 arrived at the end. So you enter with one on this side, you exit with 1/2 and 1/2. You enter with one on this port, you get with 1/2 and 1/2 lost here. So the circuit description is correct. The interpretation of this matrix is up to you. Right? So the coupler are the two fundamental modes of two physical waveguides. In a Y branch, at this side, are the two modes of the same waveguide. Nothing strange. Two ports. Okay? Sometimes is used for example, divide the input power in several parts. So, assuming you wanted to split the input power in 8, how can you do it? A directional coupler split in 2, a Y branch split in 2. So you have just to cascade many of them like this. Huh? The people play on the layout so that you can just cascade the block many times or change a little bit the shape. And these are Y branch, so you split in 8. The Y branch is very useful for this because it keeps the symmetry, divide by 2. So you are sure that here you divide by 8. If you do it with directional coupler, it's difficult to have exactly 50-50. Maybe you have a 49, 51 in the first one, and then the second one is 48, 52, and then 51, 49 again. So you have some imbalance of the splitting. While with a Y branch, you are sure that is 12.5% each.
When I combine, the second node is not propagating, it's radiating.
If the output waveguide is single mode, yes.
I start by one mode in A and nothing in B, right?
Yes.
So
In the previous case, yes.
in the previous case, can I change the phase in the second? So it's 1 and -1. No, in the other
So
matrix.
you're not referring to this
I'm
situation.
referring to the situation.
To this,
Yes. So
what you
I have
do?
1 and -1. In the
So you went. So this.
yes. So
Basically.
I will have only the second mode propagating.
Not propagating, excited.
Exactly.
Excited. Then, if the mode can propagate.
But there will not be the same situation as the post mode available here. Because here in this case the post mode available is first and second radiator.
Because you enter only from one. If you enter also from here, we go back to this situation. I don't have the simulation, but if you go back to this. So if they have the same phase, you excite the fundamental mode only. And the amplitude is 1. It's not 1/2 like here. If you change the phase of the second one, then you excite only the second mode, that in this case is radiated away. So here you see a brighter shadow and white here. But I don't have so here.
In the first case, I mean, what is the input? The outputs are, I think, 1 and 1, right? For a splitter. In the first case.
1/2 and 1/2.
1/2, right?
1/2, 1/2.
Okay.
Okay. I don't want to go too much in the detail on this with this splitter. And there are other two very important building block and splitter and device to split or combine the field, the input field in many output. So in case you want just two is a directional coupler of this, if you want many, you can combine and do three like this. Assume you want to divide in 32, 64, or even more. You cannot continue to combine. It's really become huge. So it's better to move toward other device, and one is the so-called MMI. This is called MMI. That is multi-mode. Well, I should write multi-mode interference coupler. This is the name. And this is seen from the top. Is a waveguide. Here is a very large waveguide, you see. It's like a slab, more or less, very large. And you have this box. And in this case, you have two output waveguide placed here. So if you enter with the mode, then here is almost free space. So the mode started to diverge, and you have this strange pattern inside this box of field. White and yellow means very strong light, and blue and green very weak field. And so if the length is the right one, then you have two spots here, and if you place the two waveguide here, you split in two. But you can do this box wider and larger, and at this point, this is the pattern inside the box. So if you place the waveguide here, you divide by 8. But look at this section. If you finish your MMI here, you place the waveguide here, this split by 9. And if you terminate here, you split by 10. And so you can choose the number of output, changing the dimension of the device. This is the only slide that I show you on the MMI. I don't explain you the theory behind. If some of you will work with, with the thesis with us, or work with indium phosphate, this is a typical use of indium phosphate, you have the time to study. At the moment, I wanted just to mention that there are other ways to split the light, especially if you need a large number of branch, a large number.
In input, in the output, the input power will be divided with the channel number, right? I mean, if there is an 8 channels in the output, so if the one power enter, each channel will have 1 over 8 power in output.
Is divided uniformly, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, just to mention this device that maybe you can find in your life. There is another one that is called star coupler, and seen from the top is a sort of spider or buds like this one, and is extremely important, and we will study, but not now, in a week more or less. It is similar to the MMI, but it works better, especially if the number of output is larger. Large, I mean, can be also 100 or even more. And it's useful to realize a very important multiplexer. So it's better to explain this when I do the multiplexer, not now. Otherwise, I explain half now and half in 2 weeks, and you get lost. And me too. Okay? So just keep in mind this one. Star coupler is something to split or combine many input output. And okay. So this concludes the topics of splitting and combining light. At the moment we have seen as just a single device, so to split or to combine. But now we use it. We use it to build a more complex circuit. So now we have basically all the building blocks that we need to make most of the passive integrated optics device. The straight wave guide, the bent wave guide, and the directional coupler. And with these three objects, we can play for a couple of weeks. So it's important that you know quite well these three objects, because otherwise when you combine, it becomes really difficult to understand. So now we can move to the next topic, and the next topic is towards filter, basically. So passive devices that are useful for filter, but also for other applications. The first one is this. The first one is the name depends on the field. Physics usually call it interferometer, and interferometer is something, is an arrangement that induces an interference between field, in our case light, but more in general field. So you can imagine that there are several kind of way to combine a beam to produce an interference. And we start from one of the most used and famous, that is the Mach-Zehnder interferometer. there are many others. The Michelson interferometer, the Fabry-Perot, or Perot-Fabry for the French people. I never understood why they switched the two. They give more importance to Perot than Fabry. But all the other part of the world call it Fabry-Perot. And Sagnac and Gire-Tournois. And I think it's finished. I don't know. Probably there are other, but at the moment we start with this, the Michelson interferometer. So people call it Michelson interferometer, but how is done the Michelson interferometer? Usually you have the light that enter in the part, you split in two, and you know how to split, so you can use a directional coupler, a Y branch, or beam splitter. So you split in two, for example, with a directional coupler, and then you have two paths. Usually one is longer than the other one. So let's go like this. And then you have another coupler that combines the two. And here you have the two out. So longer path, shorter path, this divided by 2, and this is another 50-50. This is, sorry, you enter from one of the vocab only. And this is the so-called Matzender interferometer, up to the two scientists that played with interference of the light many years ago. So, if you think through a signal digital processing book, you have something very similar. You probably found in elaborazione numerica dei segnali or don't remember which other courses you have done. And how do you call it, this that I'm sure you have found?
Delay network. Delay network.
Well, delay is this one. The name is a filter, this one, no?
Yes.
And is a finite impulse response filter. Okay, so this is an input, a finite impulse response filter. So if you take a book on digital signal processing, courses that you have done, you find this. So the Michelson interferometer is exactly a filter from our point of view. Finite impulse response, because the time response is a finite in time. And what is the transfer function of this? If you enter with 1, you combine the 2. So basically you combine one straight path plus another one that has been delayed. So this is the output, right? Obviously there is 1/2 and 1/2, but forget the 1/2. That you can write as a cosine of this. So this is in frequency transfer function take the square and the modulus. That is sinusoidal, a transfer function, periodical, with a period that depends on the delay of the two arms. So I'm sure that you have seen something like this in the courses on signal and signal processing. Is correct? You have seen? So it's nothing new for you. Now try to substitute this line, this box, this combination with integrated optic device. So let's try to implement this numerical filter with an integrated optic technology. So an optic technology. So what physics people call it interferometer, Mach-Zehnder interferometer, is nothing else than the implementation, optical implementation of finite impulse response filter of the first order, just one. This is 170, so many years ago, while this is basically a few years ago, 1999. Started to enter this approach. This is very interesting because if we recognize that we can implement in integrated optics numerical scheme very well known in digital signal processing, we can access to the entire library of digital signal processing book. They've written a huge number of and implemented their function with our technology, hardware. So that was a very interesting approach, rather new as approach, but nothing else than what these people done 2 centuries before. That gave a new view of the field. So, to implement this, we have just to cascade the directional coupler, straight waveguide, bent waveguide, another directional coupler, and calculate the transfer function. But you know how to do it, because you can split your circuit in elementary building block, and you already know now, after 3 weeks only, everything about this building block. You know the transfer matrix of the directional coupler. You know the transfer matrix of the straight waveguide. So if this is L, just this. If you wanted to include the losses, is this term. If you want to include the birefringence, you know that this is 40 and this is 40M. If you want to include the effect of the temperature, you know that the effective index is dependent on the temperature, and so on. So you see how powerful is this approach. And this is why I insist that if you know the waveguide, then you can start to build. They are called building block. You can build fantastic houses from just a small brick. No? So how to calculate the transfer function of this? Maybe I draw it in a better shape. Of this integrated optics circuit. 2 input, 2 directional coupler, 2 output, a bent, an unbalance here. Just multiplying by them the matrix. So we know it very well. This one is, well, it's not the case that I rewrite again. In general, they can be different, even then we know that should be 50-50 the couple, so it is 1 minus j, 1. And this one. We have 2 input, 2 output, so this is the transmission of the delay part of the straight waveguide, which symbol I used. L. Have you an idea of how to write this matrix? I think yes, it's quite easy. Who want to try? Let's start from these two. They're very easy. What I have to write here?
Cosine sine?
0. The two waveguides are not coupled, so if I enter from here, I exit from here, not from here. So this is 0. And if I enter from here, I exit from here, not from here. It's not a directional couple. So 0. It's easy. And the other two? It's already written here. Let's say phi. One and two, phi1, phi2. Phi1 is the phase induced in the upper arm. So 2 pi by lambda effective index, the length of the upper arm, and phi2, 2 pi divided by lambda effective index, and length of the lower waveguide.
ETC1, we don't have any direct application, but we don't put zeros.
PC1 is a 50-50 or minus 3 dB coupler, so split in two. So the transfer matrix is apart of this. Important, but I always forget to write because it's a constant. So we want to split the two. So I can set the long list. We will do this one very well, this one very well, and we will see this one, not this, and this is it's very simple. It's just a folded version of the Magenta. So now we want to calculate the transmission matrix of the Magenta. So let's call we want to call if we calculated the transmission matrix of the Magenta, we cut the circuit in building block. Every building block is described by the matrix, as I explained you. So, if we wanted to calculate the output, so D1 and D2 are the complex amplitude of the output. This, what is this? Just TC2 multiplied by C1 and C2. So the two complex amplitude here. So if you know these two, you multiply by this disappear, DC2, and you get the value. Okay? But C1 and C2 depends on B1 and B2. So I can write now TC2 TL B1 B2. But now you understood the game. Because B1 and B2 depends on A1, A2. So I can write TC2 TL TC1 A1 A2, and that's done. This is the transmission matrix of the Manzella. Okay? You have the transmission matrix of the generic coupler, also the asynchronous one. You remember the big matrix. So you can use that one and do play with calculation, just 2x2 matrix multiplication. So it's not easy. It's quite boring. So I don't do it. And but you can do it. It's very educational. And let's try to do it in the ideal case. So we have the first coupler that is ideal. Then you multiply by that one. Zero, zero. And then the last coupler. Okay. To simplify, we can write this one, the element of this one. What is important is the difference of phase between the two. So we can eventually collect this term, we put it outside, and write this matrix in this way. Minus J phi divided by 2, I write a little bit larger, plus J phi 2, where phi is equal to phi1 minus phi 2. And here we have a term that is, everything is missing from this. So it is a common phase term, probably is phi1 plus phi2 divided by 2 if I well remember, but it's not very important. It's a phase term common to everything that goes outside. So we are not interested in this. What is important is that this matrix now depends on the difference of the phase accumulated in the two arms. So if we substitute this one in place of this, and we do the calculation, you get a matrix like this. This is the first term, and the second one is minus j e minus j p divided by 2 minus e j e minus j phi divided by 2, and is symmetrical. No, don't make me do all the calculation. No, you calculate this by this, and then this by the other one, and you get something like this. Do you recognize this expression? How can I write this one?
Sign.
Fine. 1 over 2 over 2 is 2. So if I bring this one inside, it's really sine. So I have finally the transfer matrix of the Mach Zehnder and then there is a phase term here that I'm not interested that comes from the state operation that I did here. I'm not interested. So this is the TM zeta, the transmission matrix of the Mach Zehnder, that relate the output to the input, complex field. You can imagine that if I include also the real directional coupler transmission matrix is more complex. If I include the attenuation, it becomes more complex. But basically, it's this one. No? You can have attenuation term, you can have, but basically this. So the transfer function really depends on what? Just phi. So 2 pi divided by lambda, so the wavelength, the effective index, and the unbalance of the two arms. If you want to relate this one to the signal processing scheme, T is the time delay of the field filter. So is the unbalance divided by the speed of the light, and this comes an interesting point. So the physical unbalance of the two waveguides are related to the speed of the light, to the delay accumulated in the propagation of the two arms. So the T box, the delay box in the digital signal processing approach, so the FIR filter. So they're exactly the same. Now I leave with this question. Is it easier or not to realize a wavelength multiplexer now with respect to the WDM coupler that we have seen before? You remember our desire to combine two wavelengths? We had to rely to the dependence on the wavelength of the coefficient of the cos and sin. Also in the directional coupler we had the cos and sin, exactly like here. But now the argument can be as large as you like. You can have a delay of 1 millimeter, 1 centimeter, 1 meter. It's just a problem to do a waveguide longer than the other one. So the transfer function of this is a sinusoidal, so it's not really a good filter, no? It's sinusoidal. But it's something that you can control. And the first order FIR filter is the basis to more complex filter. So now we really have an object, complex object, composed by many other simple elements that can be designed to have the transfer function, sinusoidal transfer function that you like, with the period that you like, with the frequency that you like, etc. So it's a good starting point to make filters. Are you too tired for a question now, or?
Lunchtime.
It's lunchtime, yes, also for me. I'm afraid no lunch today. So it's lunchtime. Okay, have a nice week. See you on Monday.